as a developmental psychologist, as you know, there are all kinds of maps out there that tell us what the next step is, right? And what we're talking about is not on that map, on any of those maps. And isn't that interesting?
I had a feeling when I was first experiencing these kinds of dialogues that I was touching on something that had been pulling me throughout my life in the years
Mm-hmm.
up to that point, and all these different things that I had been inexplicably drawn to. Suddenly, years later, in discovering this dialogue, were beginning to sort of be drawn together, and there was a sense of the threads being gathered and organized harmonically. And yeah, in my case, things like, I don't know if you're familiar with Terence McKenna, but
Mm-hmm.
his work and his way of being and his style, there was something about that was so curious to me, and something that he was sort of weaving at the end of each sentence that he would speak,
Mm-hmm.
that called out to me. And I think it is that same thing. It's that same thing that drew me to Dialogos when I found it through sort of Jordan Hall and John Vervaeke and Guy Sangstock and Chris Mastro Pietro, and then later discovering you guys and many other individuals sort of gathering and having been on really profound long journeys up to that point that met them there, that had them organizing in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think this is often the real mystery of one's spiritual life, because I would say that this is core to one's reckoning with spirit in a certain sense, that you come to realize that something's been moving you, and you thought you were making choices, right? You thought you were making choices based on things that you were kind of interested in, but then you realize it's like, oh wow, there's a weave to this. There's some other intention that I am being driven by, that is bigger than my own, or is not something that is in my conscious mind. It's in something much deeper in me. And I think, and then you step back, and as you're saying, you see all these other people kind of approaching and grappling with and exploring and opening up the same thing, and you go, oh ho, this is actually something that is pulling in the cosmos. This is something that is actually wanting to be made, to be realized, that we're on the edge of something here that wants to be known. And that's, to actually really take that in, is very both humbling, and also really allows one to relax, and relax in a deep way, not like, oh, now I'm done, now I can just be driven by this thing, but it allows one to trust oneself in a deeper way, as something that is not separate from this movement in life. You realize it's like, oh, I am moving with a current that is of the life space that we're in, of the cosmos, of the questions that are arising out of the life conditions on Earth right now. This is a step for human beings to take, and I'm not separate from that. And that is gives one deep confidence about life itself, and about one's relationship to it. And then the work of humility, the work of uh, improving one's capacity to give to it, to surrender to it, to be available to it. Then it's like, oh, that's my work. Then my work is to be a better vessel for this. And that, to me, is what what spiritual life is about.
And there's such a sense for me of the expansiveness of that, of like when you give over to the mission of this work and the full flowering of the meaning and vastness of what it might actually be.
Mm-hmm.
It it's a there's a trust in it, and it's an unknown that offers much more possibility than whatever I myself could think up.
Right,
Or like
right.
where I might be in 10 years.
Yeah, right. I want to connect with that point in a slightly to the side a little bit. It's real. As a developmental psychologist, as you know, there are all kinds of maps out there that tell us what the next step is, right? And what we're talking about is not on that map, on any of those maps. And isn't that interesting? You know, that we have maps of higher and higher development of the individual, but that this kind of like coming out of left field, you know, this impulse that is like, oh, we can, from a place of non-separation, be part of a larger force of synergy that and collective sense making that 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 appears to want to have its way with us. That appears to be want us to lean into this. That wasn't on the map.